and today we are speaking to a creative problem solver and social entrepreneur with the passion to mobilize youth-led innovation across universities in South Africa. She has recently co-founded Code Your Future South Africa, an organization that addresses unemployment by repositioning adults for the future in tech. This is Enactus Perspective, an interview show created for the entire Enactus South Africa network, where partners, faculty advisors, alumni and students share their fondest memories of the Enactus experience and how those experiences are shaping their lives today. We are putting the Enactus experience into perspective. If you like our videos and would like to see more of this content, please subscribe to our channel. Do not forget to like and share the videos. My name is Lydia Mafatle. A warm welcome to our guest, Lana Franks. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm quite well, thank you. It's a really bright and sunny day in the mother city today, so all is well.
Great. As you are very passionate about mobilizing youth-led innovation, tell us more. What does Enactus mean to you?
Yeah, I do. I love working with youth and encouraging them to come up with innovative ideas. And Enactus is a wonderful program that allows, or personally for myself, allows me to express my love for innovation and then to help young people innovate. And so I quite like the motto that says, having a head for business and a heart for the world. That for me sums it up. And encouraging more young people to consider social entrepreneurship as a valid option for them while they're studying and then post-graduation. And so Enactus really gives us an avenue to develop the startup culture at university, but specifically with the social impact in mind. And so I love the program for that reason. Also, it's this advocacy of the triple bottom line, which is people, the planet, and prosperity. I think that for me is critical in changing the world, in changing the current status quo. And so I'm a passionate advocate of Enactus, and so it's a great program to be part of. Actually.
Yes, this year has been like a very hard year for all of us, like globally. It has been a very hard year. So I'd like you to tell us one of the challenges that you and your team have faced in the program this year.
Yeah, it was quite challenging. Just to give some context to the university that I'm part of, UWC, we in a sense rebuilt the program in the last year. So we in a sense needed to build from scratch, develop a new chapter, find new students. And you know, we when the year started, we started with a great recruitment drive during orientation week. We had onboarded a number of students interested in the program, had a few meetups, a training event, and then COVID happened, right? And it really affected our momentum in many ways. Some of the plans to launch some new projects were affected. One big thing for us this year was we found that students themselves were trying to navigate the new online space academically. And so we were in the program, in a sense, needed to take a back seat as students needed to focus on the academic commitments. And so in that period, we didn't have as much involvement. However, what was quite interesting is that the students that did take part really exhibited that resilience that is necessary in entrepreneurship, and also just we could in a sense sift out a little bit and identify the students who will become the core leadership team. And so we were able to onboard a new executive team from the group of students who were persistent through this really difficult period. And so that's how we identified our leadership team now, and we're excited about that. Like, okay, that's what came out of this period, not as many projects, but definitely a core team that was able to navigate this storm that we're in a sense still in. Yeah.
Okay, so what are the projects that your team, Western Cape has been working on, and what SDGs do those projects cater or focus on?
Yeah, so we have, I'd say 2.5 projects, but it really focuses on three SDGs. The first one, the education, SDG 4. And that specific team was part of the MTN special competition, which is the ICT challenge, and we're really excited about that because they made it to the top 12 teams, and they now have going to be receiving funding. So that was a real win for us and exciting. And so their focus is on making maths fun. And so they have a gamified platform that they're working on, together with the Maths Society, the Maths Club at UWC. So they're wanting to focus on numeracy, and because you know that the South African numeracy levels are quite low compared to global standards, and so that's a focus area for them, which we're quite excited about. And so they're further along than the other projects in that they've come through the design thinking process, etc., and they're now looking at prototyping. And then the second project is the Sustainable Food Garden project that actually was birthed in the COVID context, as we saw the food insecurity being a huge problem in our country. As that was exposed really, and hunger was a crisis, and so we were thinking about sustainable food gardens as a solution, and so that's in its empathy phase. So we're still developing insights, interviews. So that's in that stage of development. And then a project that started last year, that's, I said 2.5 because it's had a bit of, it hasn't had as much momentum, but we're still wanting to push that forward, is a project focused on health, mental health specifically. And so again, I think it has relevance also in this COVID context. So we saw mental health becoming a real struggle, especially among students. Suicide rates is really gone up in this time as well. So we know that mental health is an increasing problem, and so that's something we want to begin to really work on.
Okay, those are amazing projects. So what are the challenges in achieving sustainable development, and how can they be overcome?
Yeah, that's such a good question, because I was recently reading an article about how the UN Sustainable Development Goals are actually not fast tracking as quickly as they had hoped. We're behind on that timeline, and so let me rather speak to a local context. What's been surprising for me is I've worked with really hundreds of students, both at university and other spaces, and I'm a design thinking facilitator, so I do a lot of this kind of startup projects and ideation. Yeah. And it's often framed within the Sustainable Development Goals. And what I find very surprising and really is one of the challenges, that I start out asking the group, who of you have heard of the Sustainable Development Goals? Can you give me an example of one? Mm-hmm. And the majority have never heard of the SDGs. At university level...
That is shocking.
It's shocking. At university level, across faculties. That means they've come through their schooling, having been exposed to it, or... I mean, I doubt it's that they can't remember, because it's the majority. So that it hasn't been that embedded in their curriculum throughout their schooling. Mm. And like I said, in other spaces as well. So it's as if Enactus is their first experience with SDGs, which is too late. and so I think one of the big challenges is that it is not widely adopted yet. It's not the status quo. It's not the normal. SDGs is like, yeah, it's like that side thing we kind of do when we need to think about social impact. But I believe it's critical to integrate it and embed it into the education methodology and content. And so that I think is something that we need to look at. And something that we can overcome. I think it's too late to hear about it at university. The opportunity is that, and I see how amazing it is when students encounter the SDGs, lights switch on, and they're beginning to think about how to integrate what they're studying, as well into this, or how to integrate SDGs into what they're studying. So there is that sort of crossover that can happen. But how amazing would it be to come into university with that mindset already in place? Yeah. And so I think that's the opportunity to see how we might integrate it into the education pipeline. Pre-primary, primary, high school.
Sure.
Those are the opportunities.
Yeah, the sooner they learn about them, it's going to be easy for them to actually adapt them and learn or put them in projects or even work towards like alleviating poverty in the slightest of things they do.
Yeah, because it's unfortunate that education has been commodified, where education was never meant to be that. It's never been meant to be something that you do for personal gain. It's the benefit, for the common good should always be the goal. And so I think people study for a career, and it falls short of the common good. And so I think the SDGs are that opportunity to foster a bigger vision that is inclusive of more than yourself.
With unemployment or youth unemployment being so high in South Africa and globally, do you think it is our job to find the solution?
Yeah, it's a crisis, isn't it? It's one of our most urgent crises. More than half the country, is unemployed. And so I think, and often something that I speak to our students about, is they are set apart in a sense that they have had an opportunity to receive higher education. That in itself is a privilege relative to the larger country. And because unemployment is one of our pressing crises, they themselves can't be guaranteed of employment. Of course, graduates have more opportunity or more possibility of employment, but we know that employment there are less opportunities for employment. So I honestly believe that they have an opportunity to use what they're studying to create value for others, to create opportunities for others. So it's that whole thing of you're studying not to create opportunity for yourself only, but to go out and create opportunities for others. And I think, if we think about it, if I think of UWC specifically, we have about 22,000 students. I wonder, even if we can create an indicator, a job creation indicator, it'll be interesting to see, to be able to measure that as well. How many of our students go out there to create opportunities for others, to create innovations that create employment. And so I think it's critical. If they don't do it, who else is going to do it? They have this opportunity of creating receive the higher education. Yeah. So I think it's critical.
Good. So I would ask you, if you had like the powers to change the world, where would you start?
Yeah. I think of Michael Jackson's song "Man in the Mirror," and it says, "I think the start is to look at yourself and make the change. To look at oneself and say, what it means to change. All good and all evil emanates from the heart, you know.
True.
And I think honestly that is the starting point, is for each person to, it's this whole personal development towards good and greater good. The problems we're facing is because of human decision, and the good we're facing is because of human decision. So I think it must begin in the heart. And then beyond that, I think a very critical part to start is early childhood development. I think I was reading an article as well, that the first 4 years of schooling is so critical to what the rest of that person's life will look like. And so I'm wondering as well, through Enactus, we don't have any projects focused on early childhood, but I do think that's a critical place to begin, if we can help children that are reposition themselves out of poverty. That is, then our society has a brighter future.
That's true. You must teach them while they're still young.
Yeah.
You can be successful quite easily.
Yeah.
The last question for you, what is your motto in life?
My single motto, I've got so many.
one that you can remember now.
Yeah, no. I think I'll keep it relevant sort of to the conversation, but I truly believe that problems are opportunities for innovation.
True.
I genuinely see that. And so when I encounter a problem, I use this design thinking methodology that says, how might we shift this? How might we change this? And so I would say that's pretty personal, and I do try to live that out a lot. Where problems are opportunities for innovation.
True. Even here at Enactus, we always say where others see a problem, we see opportunity. Thank you so much, Lana Franks, for joining us today and having a conversation with us.
It's a pleasure. It was lovely chatting to you, Lydia.
Likewise.